Well, hello everybody. We want to welcome you today to this episode of the Ripple Effect podcast. And I was gone last week, so it's good to be back today. I'm Brian Sevitz. I'm here in the studio with Amanda Dunwoody, who's joining us today. And we have an empty seat. I don't know. We waited a long time.
Wait, I'm coming. I'm here. Hang on.
What is going on?
Guys, what are you wearing? Guys, you said
It's still warm today.
You said we were dressing up as Drive-Thru Bethlehem. What?
I think you forgot to tell me.
I even brought the staff and everything. Oh my goodness. This is really embarrassing. Let me cross my legs.
Daniel's our sponsor of the week.
Yeah!
As it turns out. And I think that's going to be apparent to most of them why. But we're gearing up for Drive-Thru Bethlehem. And actually, that's a really nice costume.
I think, Brian, you and I should bring robes back for men. They are flowy, warm when you want them to be, cool when you want them to be. How would y'all feel if I preached in robes from now on? It's a pretty high liturgical feel, but I think we should bring them back. I think we could rock them. This is like the Michael Curtis sash that he wears sometimes, you know?
I am liking that. It does add a pop of color there.
Listen, the sponsor of the week is Drive-Thru Bethlehem, and the reason it's the sponsor of the week is because this year is a Drive-Thru Bethlehem year. Mm-hmm. Last year we took a break. It was nice, but this year we are gearing up for Drive-Thru Bethlehem, and this is a shepherd's costume and a shepherd's crook on one. There you go. And we are getting excited for that. And Amanda is in the studio to talk about that a little bit today. Brian, how many years have you done Drive-Thru Bethlehem? Do you remember?
I think we started it in 2012 was our first one.
Okay.
That may be wrong. That's just off the top of my head.
So you've done all of them?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
So the answer is all of them.
All of them here. I've done all of them, yes.
Okay.
So, in the very beginning, David Fincher kind of gave me a plug for some kind of a drive-through nativity or something. Uh-huh. That was quite a ways before we started it. He had seen it at some other church, I think. Then I was on the Missouri Christian Convention committee as the worship, chair, whatever they call it. And at that, there was a guy there, Mark Atterbury, I think is his name. We're still Facebook friends, and I chat with him sometimes. He was at a church in Florida, and he had shown some photos and things of their Drive-Thru Bethlehem. And it was like, okay, I've heard this from this person. I've seen photos. I asked him for his information. He sent me like a whole binder of stuff, which we do ours quite a bit different than theirs, but it was a good starting place. Yeah. And then also got some info from Harvester, which does a walkthrough. I don't think they do it anymore. But they
don't do it anymore.
They used to do a Walkthrough Bethlehem, and theirs was way more involved with like learning lines and thousands of people walking through it because you're in St. Charles, I think is where they are. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it got started. And
it's pretty cool.
And for the first few years, we did it every year. Then after a while, the newness wears off and you're like, the attendance is going down. Mm-hmm. The energy from our people to volunteer was going down. And there was one year where like I was begging and getting nothing. And I said, this is not like intended to be a depressing thing, everyone, but we're just not doing it this year. And I said, it's because we shouldn't have to beg that hard. Like people should want to do it. Yeah. And
I think every other year has been a good.
It's much better.
It's been a good flow.
And there's people that still say, I miss it. I really want it to happen. But they're usually not the people helping. They're the people just attending.
Absolutely. So we'll talk more about Drive-Thru Bethlehem in a little bit, but that is the sponsor of the week, and we hope that you're getting at least your mind headed towards that idea that this is happening this year, and we're excited for it. Let's review the week and the previous Sunday and see how everybody is doing. Amanda, how was your Sunday?
My Sunday was great.
What was the best part of your Sunday, and what was the worst part of your Sunday?
There was no worst part.
Liar. This liar's liar.
So, Sundays are always so busy with First Church, and then, we have lunch afterwards, and then in the afternoons we have our small group. So, it's just a fun day Sunday. And it's always just amazing.
Daniel's sermon is the answer. I
said who comes to church.
Brian, how was your Sunday?
Good. I was really happy that we had a lot of extra stuff, it seems like, to work in there Sunday. The
Rex
stuff,
announcements,
Rex, which that was a highlight for me. Not that he's leaving, but anytime we get to just recognize somebody for their behind the scenes work.
Yeah. Our highlight of the week is Rex is leaving.
So, no, I'm really sad about that actually, because there's so...
He's done so much.
If you're watching this and you feel like you could be a Rex type person around here, please call us. And I mean, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but we would love to talk to somebody that's like semi-retired, that just wants a few hours to do handyman stuff, because building is, what we say, 18 years old or something like that, and it's just starting to have a lot of issues.
Need some upkeep.
And more than we want just like a volunteer deacon to have to do. Yeah. They can do some of those things. But Rex has really, I'd say especially the last, let's say 9 months, done a lot of things around here.
Yeah. Well, Sunday we're continuing the series through the people of Israel leaving Egypt and going to the Promised Land. And we talked this week about the sons of Aaron who were killed because they didn't come before the Lord with hearts of humility. They did what they shouldn't have done. Difficult topic to deal with. It was probably the shortest sermon I've preached in like a year and a half, mainly because we had 2 testimonies that were given at the beginning by Lee Bowman and Jan Kraft. And I'm so grateful that they shared their testimonies with us, just a little bit about what God is doing in their life. And I can gladly shorten my sermons for someone to share a little bit about what God is doing. So we hope if you missed anything on Sunday, go to tlcc.church. You can catch up there and see everything that you missed. Brian, we got TLCC top 3. What are the top 3 things they need to know coming up this week?
The first couple of things are stuff we've been talking about. One of them is the pictorial directory, and that's coming up mid-November. And we're just reminding you to sign up because we really need you to sign up.
Check your emails. Dawn has sent out the links to say, hey, click this link and you can select. Did you sign up?
Yes.
You did? Was it an easy process?
It's very easy, yes. You can also do it through the app.
Click on it. It's right there. You select your time slot. Simple. You can do it through the app. You heard it here first.
Yeah, and you just click that link, pick a time. And the reason we're wanting you to sign up is if everybody in our church signs up, there are not enough spaces on there right now. But they won't add another day until they get a certain amount on those days. So if you try to do this last minute, you may not get a spot, is the fact. So you really need to commit to a time and pick a spot. And if you want a directory, your photo must be taken.
Ooh.
Or you're going to have to pay money for your directory. I think it's $20.
Your photo's in the directory, you get one for free.
Yeah. And I think you get a photo for free, if I remember right.
You get a family photo.
And I think if you don't, you have to pay $20 just for the directory.
That's on you. That's all on you.
Yeah.
Don't mean to point so aggressive. That's
pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Also, I just want y'all to know, this is getting a little warm now. So I'm rethinking my plan for bringing back the rooms.
Well, our new podcast area is often a little stuffy anyway.
We need to get some fans back here.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
the whole time Rex was working back here, there was a fan.
But just think these are perfect for when it's cold and we're actually outside.
Yeah.
You just like cuddle up with them. Okay, number 2, we got so picture directories.
Yeah, volunteers. That's all I wrote down was volunteers. But I mean, seriously, we're going to talk about Christmas volunteers. But if you've just been a person that comes here and sits in the seats, you have benefited from other people volunteering to do a number of things for you, make coffee. You guys talked about that last Sunday, I think. I gave that announcement about chairs, coffee. We're trying to get people to pick up the chairs now because it's such a nicer environment to leave church second hour if we're not having the mass chaos of stacking chairs and rolling carts across the floor. But that means somebody has to do it. And Matt's small group on Sunday night, which my son is in, has been doing that.
Middle school boys.
But
child labor is what we've been.
I mean, and they're willing to do it some, but he's like, we're not going to make this a every week project. So we need some people who would be willing to just go out, maybe get lunch and come back, or just hang around. There's some of you that just like hanging around talking after church anyway. Just wait 10 or 15 minutes till it clears out and that, you know, our guests are gone, and then stack up the chairs. So it really doesn't take that long. Since I've been helping with it, if you have 3 or 4 people, it's a pretty quick, easy thing.
So volunteers, that's just a general call, especially in the fall. There's a lot more stuff that's happening and things that we'd like to do. And if you haven't really gotten plugged in to serve in a specific area, we can figure out a way to fit your time schedule and an area of ministry that might be even enjoyable for you. And the thing about serving is, when you serve, you can get more connected to people. And so if you felt like kind of on the fringe, when you serve, that's when you really get to know people, and it's a great opportunity. So you can go to the website, tlcc.church/serve, and there's a form there that just says, hey, I'm interested, and we can get in contact with you about how to connect you to some areas of ministry that we have needs. So.
And you can just put on there wherever needed, and we'll come up with some ideas. We can talk with you about. If we don't know you, we'll get to know your strengths or what you're good at.
That's right. We'll put you in a robe, put you on a podcast.
Yeah.
We'll whatever you need. Okay.
From experience, they'll ask you to do some really obscure things.
Yeah, sometimes. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes. So you got the first thing, get the pictorial directory signed up. And if you're interested in service, this is just a plea that we'd love to get you connected. And then finally...
Yeah, and then for the rest of today, we're really just going to move into talking about Drive Through Bethlehem, which is one reason we invited Amanda to join us today. But we started our recruiting. Well, I started recruiting some things earlier, but Sunday we officially did what we call enlistment, and that's for helping out with the mega tree setup, with Christmas Eve. Some of you are, that's mostly for musicians. A lot of times we do a little bit of drama, or sometimes we have other things, just depending on the direction we go with Christmas Eve. So if you're interested, if you know you're going to be here on the 23rd and 24th, 5 p.m., let us know, and we can try to find a good spot for you to fit into that program. But then Drive Through Bethlehem is something that takes, I said last time it was 100 and something, 108, is that what I said Sunday? I had it written down.
Yeah.
108 people had to be involved last time we did this, and that's just who I had on the list. Plenty of people that made snacks or maybe came in and helped set up or something that I didn't even have on my list.
Yeah.
But
okay, well, Amanda, let's get to you because we're going to get into Drive Through Bethlehem. But before, I like to do this thing where you get, what did I say, 30 seconds usually? You get 30 seconds to tell the people who you are. So anything that you feel like is important. If you're meeting someone for the first time, like, what do you want them to know about you? You've got 30 seconds, and you can start. Wait for it. Now.
Okay. So my name is Amanda Dunwoody. I've been in Moberly for many, many years, lived here. I work for U.S. Cellular, and I have a son, Ian. I have a daughter, Olivia, who is currently a sophomore at the high school, and then I have Samantha, who is in 7th grade at the middle school.
10 seconds.
I love to volunteer and do various things throughout the community. I've been involved in many, many different organizations around here, as well as at
5
the
seconds.
church.
That's good.
That's
yeah.
good.
Phew, did you black out? I understand sometimes when people ask you questions and put you on the spot, your brain just kind of...
Oh, yeah. We didn't rehearse any of this.
Oh, no. I know.
No.
Well, I mean, I was rehearsing this for like days to get this right. So you started coming to church a couple years ago, about 5 years ago here, 4 years ago. When did you come to church here?
When did you come?
5 years ago.
Okay, so
it was about right after. Right?
It was like around the same time. The very first, like one of the first times you were here, you remember I introduced myself to you and said, "I'm new, you're new."
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I forgot about that. Okay. So how long did it take you then to get involved in like volunteering?
Okay. So can I back up and tell a story about how I started coming here?
Sure.
Is that okay if I set the stage?
I got all done.
I think it was the year 2017. Brian, you'll have to correct me if there was actually a Drive Through Bethlehem that year. But my daughters were obviously younger at that time.
Yeah, they're on the odd years.
Yeah, so it would have been that year. So, we were driving around looking at Christmas lights, things like that. And we saw that there was this, thing happening at the church here as we were driving down Gratz Brown. So the girls wanted to come through this. So we, drove through, got our CD, listened to, all the stations and listened to everything that was being told. Remember, the angel up on what did you guys have at the time?
It was a deer stand.
Yeah.
Was it a deer stand?
Or scaffolding or
something. It was really high up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all of that, it was just amazing. And that my daughters enjoyed it so much. And afterwards, they asked if we could go to church here. And so we didn't have a church home. I didn't grow up in going to church regularly or anything like that. So, but I knew that at the time we probably needed something in our lives, and I said, yeah, absolutely, we'll start going to church there. So, started going to church here. I was here for I remember some of the Christmas service that year, things like that. I think came
It's
in.
my first. That Christmas service, I wasn't even technically started yet.
Yeah, right.
But I got to pray, or I did some small part in the service,
Yeah. And then, we just started coming regularly and started to, I will say, I was probably one of those people when you're newer where you kind of just sit back and watch things and try to get acclimated to what's going on and get the feel for things. So it was a little bit before I probably jumped in and started going to a growth group and volunteer things.
Can I tell them the story of your baptism?
Sure.
This is like one of my favorite stories. So she came to us and was like, all right, I'm ready to get baptized. And Amanda, if you know her, she's like, if she's made up her mind about something, she's already figured out how it's going to be done and how she'd like it to be done. And already the whole plan is already laid out for you. And so I come to the church building, right?
Yeah.
And she is there and she's ready to go. And we were so excited for her because we'd been praying for you for a long time. And my family loves you and your family. And when I got there, do you remember she had her own cake ready.
Yeah.
And it said, what did it say? Welcome, Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
It said, welcome, Holy Spirit on it. It was so awesome. So
it was like a reception. Because I invited all the people that had some sort of
influence,
or influence in bringing me to that point. It was very important to me to have
it was
be surrounded
beautiful.
by friends and family and things like that.
It was so beautiful, and I was so not shamed, but I was like, I should do this for her, and not her doing it for us. You know what I mean? But it was beautiful.
Awesome.
It was a great experience.
It was awesome.
It was
I'm so glad you did that.
I'm so glad too. All right, so drive through Bethlehem. You drove through it. That was an initial connection to the church.
Yep.
You then started getting involved in it a few years in, right? So this was like 2019.
It would have been the next time that we put it on, I think.
And what was your first experience? You just participate in it?
No.
You jumped right in?
Yeah.
Man.
Brian had me stapling things on top of the staple, like making it look more authentic with like grass or hay or something. Like I was like making things.
If anybody shows up anytime around there, you get a job.
Yeah.
So wait, but you didn't direct the volunteers yet, did you?
I think the first year
maybe you did.
I might have, yeah. I helped Carly with setting up the marketplace.
That was what it was the market.
And then enlisting some people. I was going around asking,
co-leading, kind of.
I mean, I was really, twisting arms, like, hey, we need more people in the market, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
So, for you, going through an event that was an initial draw to the church, does it mean more to you than just someone who thinks, oh, it's a cool event, but it really doesn't really do anything?
Well, I would say I do probably have a different perspective than other people that maybe just drive through it or think it's something that our church does, because it had a profound influence, I would say, on my family, considering that that's what led to my baptism and my rebirth in Christ. And then I've invited other people now, other members of my family or friends or whatever, and everyone really enjoys it. I don't know how many keep coming.
Result because of that.
Right. But you never know when you're planting a seed or just something that starts someone on a journey.
I think that is the most powerful thing about it is when you're participating in it, or if you've done it for a few years, you can sometimes get through the motions of like, oh, okay, we just got to get through this. But you forget that the story of Jesus and the story that we celebrate during Christmas time, God's plan in sending Christ to this earth and what we celebrate is powerful, and it does impact people. But on the flip side, it's also powerful to see a church that cares enough about sharing that message that they're willing to be outside for 2 hours in the cold and smiling at people and doing this performance so that someone might not only enjoy it and have like a family tradition, but also that they might hear the message. And I think that's also impactful. Like, oh, what kind of church is this that would be willing to do that?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about that when this was going to be our topic, that it is just such a lovely way to show what a church, what our church family is, and just how everyone cares about everyone else. Because you've got runners that are bringing you, things to keep your hands warm, or making sure the fires are going, or like you've got the safety crew that's making sure people can walk between the cars to get back into the church to go to the restroom or whatever, So it's just really shows how we all work together to put on this production, so that everyone can learn the story of Jesus.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question is, so you've seen it as you have gone through it, then you've attended it. What are the lessons that you've learned being a participant in it, or some of the things that you've taken away like that of, we're seeing how we're treating one another, putting on a project? Are there other lessons that you've learned participating in it?
It's always, to me, cool to see how things happen behind the scenes, right? So, but Brian is so instrumental in making sure it all goes according to plan. And he's got a huge plan, and he keeps this. What did you say? Somebody gave you a binder, but you have this whole notes from every year that it's ever been done, and you just keep track of everything. We've got the costumes that are always in storage, that sort of thing. It's just, there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of people that help with it. And just, I think one of the other things is that you guys have done a really great job of putting everyone in a place that benefits their gifts, or that uses their gifts, and and in turn makes it such a great event.
Yeah. Brian, you've done this for a little while now. You talked a little bit about how it's easy to get into the rut or the routines of things. When it actually happens and all the stuff is going on, when you sit back, like, what are the things you're grateful for that this does?
Yeah, because it's always a mixture for me of like dread and then being excited, because there's great things that come out of doing a project like this. And yet we've talked a lot recently about when you do something like this, a lot of other things become either you have to go into automatic mode or whatever with your normal everyday stuff, because it not like for this whole season, but for especially those last couple weeks, I would say it becomes consuming. And so as much as you try to share that, which I've obviously with some of you I've tried to share that burden, there's still this certain amount of stuff that's on my plate. And when it's happening, it's obviously you see the cars lined up and the people are coming through, and kids and dogs are hanging out the windows. It's all worth it at that moment. And so that's kind of a given. The second thing, though, is there's a certain amount of unity that our people feel knowing there's nobody here that could do any of this on their own. I may take a higher share of it because I am the staff member in charge, but I don't even know how to tally up the cumulative hours that go into putting this on. And that's what we evaluate it by every year is, for the resources being put in, are we seeing results? And you can't see all those results. Like she was saying, it's a seed often that's planted that you may not even hear about till later. Like one time I was talking to this guy, and his family had first become acquainted with our church the first year we did the mega tree. I had no idea of that, and it was like,
years later.
last year was the second year, so I guess it was just the second year. So it hasn't been that long for the mega tree, but it was a long time after that happened, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And so you do kind of live in this world of I don't know all the results, just like we do with our preaching. I mean, sometimes you get this immediate result. A lot of times somebody will say something 10 years later. Do you remember that sermon you preached? No, I have no clue. But a seed was planted. Yeah. I was talking to a lady that's like the only time that my husband would ever come into this church is for one of these Christmas events in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Maybe that seed will grow sometime.
Yeah. Well, we hope you're getting excited about Drive Through Bethlehem like we are, and we hope that you will think about participating in it. It's something that is a great event and something that we are really excited about and passionate about here, and we know it'll be used for the glory of God and for the benefit of our church and the community. Amanda, I have one more question for you before we end this, and it's
probably the hardest one.
It is. It's not really the hardest one. Considering your journey and everything that you have gone on, there are some people who are either skeptical of church, and for good reason, or intimidated by church. What would you say to someone who may have been in your shoes, where they might know, I could use a community around me, but they're not really sure how to take that next step into getting involved or going to a church? Like, what would you say to someone that's kind of there at that fringe place the edge place where they want to make a decision to get connected and maybe are curious about Jesus, but haven't quite taken that plunge yet? What would you say to them to help them make a confident choice?
I would say be brave. And just like you said, when you said curious, ask the questions, find someone that you trust, that you can build a relationship with, ask hard questions. I mean, if you're questioning it, then you should talk to someone about it, because it's a lot of faith. You can't, no one's going to be able to hand you something or show you for sure this is exactly, you should believe. Or it's because it's constantly talking to someone, seeing how God works in people's lives, and then just taking that leap of faith, really. But ask the hard questions so that you can start to remove the doubts.
Yeah. And then this is a two-parter. What would you tell the people that are praying for those individuals, that they're wanting to reach them, or maybe they're on their hearts? Like, what would be something good to say, hey, this is how you can encourage that person without pushing them away?
I would say continue to share your story. Stories are impactful and important. Share your story, share maybe the story of others and how, God has changed or worked in their lives. If it can be something small, it could be large, like miracles, but just continuing to share that, because just like we said, it could be planting a seed. Maybe that person's not in a season of their life where they really need God, but there may come a time when they do, and they'll think back to all these stories that they've heard, and everyone that's shared their, how God has helped them, how a church community has helped them, and that sort of thing. And they'll pull back to that and hopefully, get connected.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. We hope that this has been encouraging to you, and we are grateful for Amanda. Thank you for being here today. Brian, thank you for putting up with my shenanigans. And we love you all very much, and we hope to see you here next week on the Ripple Effect podcast. See you guys.
Okay.